Welcome to Attenuation, a weekly podcast where two friends come together to drink beer, discuss beer styles and trends, and just generally ruminate on the meaning of life, aka beer. If you enjoy your time with us, we invite you to become a weekly listener and subscribe to the podcast. Without further ado, here is this week's episode.
Hello, and welcome to episode 33 of Attenuation, a beer podcast. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by my best friend since 8th grade, Steven.
Hello.
How's it going today, sir?
Hey, I'm ready for beer.
It's been one of those days, huh? I think it's been one of those days for me as well. So, well, before we get to the beer part, I guess we've got to introduce the main topic. So today, we're going to go over food pairings with beer, which, if this podcast wasn't already pretentious enough,
we just leveled up.
Prepare yourself. Okay, well, but we'll get to that soon. Let us get to the drinking beer segment because I think we're both excited. I actually have a beer that was delivered to me by my co-host.
We had a short, brief sighting of each other.
That's true. So I have some Texas beers. I'm very excited. And I feel like you selected this one on purpose because this is Martin House Brewing Blue Dream. And it says on the can, made in Texas by Texans. I like
That's right, y'all.
I'm pretty excited for this one. I feel like we talked about this on the last episode, or maybe 2 episodes ago. It's a blue raspberry sour. We were talking about the flavor blue raspberry.
Yeah. Like, what is it exactly?
What is it? Is that a real flavor? And this is, oh my gosh, this color. It's like a blue-green. And even the head is green.
That was some good pour audio right there.
Does it sound good?
Yeah, it sounded good.
Oh, this smells like cotton candy almost, like blue cotton candy. And then, yeah, and it has like the backbone of the, like a sour, and I can smell I don't know even how to describe this. This is crazy. I'm just going to pass it to you. I gotta absorb what's happening to me right now. The blue is really throwing me off.
All right, well, it's sour day apparently today because I am drinking a Kriek, 3 Fonteinen Kriek.
Oh, no, you aren't.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I was very excited when I found this bottle because it's like a smaller bottle of it.
Yeah.
Which makes it, well, more affordable. One.
Yeah.
And a little bit less intimidating because I don't have to drink a whole big bottle of it. So this is a Belgian brewery, 3 Fonteinen. This is their Oude Kriek. I love, reading this bottle. This is the Lambic I should have drank on the Lambic episode.
Yes.
Because this is, true. This is true Belgian beer. It does not get more authentic than this.
There's no cherry syrup in that one.
No. So this is blend number 86. It's from the 2018-2019 season. I love the bottling date is July 3rd, 2019. Best before October 26th, 2039.
Nice.
You have 20 years to drink it.
Like wine.
It's awesome. But yeah, so this is it was macerated for over 7 months. The lambics in this beer originate from 3 different barrels and 5 different brews, of which 62% was brewed by 3 Fonteinen and 38% was brewed by Brewery Boone. So it's 2 different breweries, blends of 5 different brews.
Probably hand-picked sour cherries. I'm
sure.
Sure.
Macerated on cherries for 7 months. Hand-picked whole sour cherries. No artificial juices, syrups, or sugars added.
Looking at you,
Lindemans.
Lindemans, yeah. And you know why that's a fancy beer, Steven? Has a cork in it.
Trying to pop it. Oh, there it goes.
There you go.
Yeah, that is fancy beer. Well, it's fancy food pairing day, so.
Do you have some food you're going to pair with that?
I need some Wagyu beef or something. Okay, so this is pouring a beautiful red pinkish hue. Good carbonation. This is bottle conditioned. So the carbonation is completely natural from yeast.
And
Smell is so good. It's like just the slightest little bit of funk, but like just lemon, like cherry lemonade. Like a nice yeasty bread, but also like weird funk coming over that. That's just like makes me feel like I'm about to bite into some like freshly picked fruit, like peach fuzz, kind of fermented peach. Did you ever my grandma used to can peaches.
Okay.
And every once in a while, like if the seal didn't fully take, you would open it and you would like eat it, and you could tell like it had fermented a little.
Yeah.
That was the best.
A core memory.
Yeah. It was like I don't think I should be eating this, but I like this like buzz that.
That's amazing. You're getting that same sensation?
Oh, just a beautiful like fermented fruit. Oh, okay. All right. I'm ready to drink.
Cheers, sir. I like this Blue Dream.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's good. It's sour, like really sour, which is something that I really like in a sour beer. Like, I want it to be like shockingly sour.
Yeah, Martin House usually comes through with that.
Yeah. And it's got, I mean, obviously you get big blue raspberry, like lemon, cherry, these nice fruit flavors. And then like it's got a little bit like of like a wheat beer taste almost. And then it's bright and refreshing, and you don't notice the 8% alcohol. And yeah, it does taste like blue raspberry. And I know this is going to sound counterintuitive, but it's not like artificially, it doesn't taste super artificial. Like, I don't feel like I'm drinking a Slurpee, because I feel like the other flavors, like the cherry and the lemon and kind of like the base beer, is all good. So it's like, it's presenting as a sour beer, and not, you wouldn't think so, because it's like neon blue.
Green, yeah.
But yeah, it's nice. I would drink this again for sure. So are you having an experience over there, my friend?
This beer is blowing my mind.
Good.
This may be one of the best beers I've ever had, and more complex than any wine I've ever had, or any beer I've ever had. The level of sourness is like perfect. You know it's sour, but it's not like, it isn't like a weird artificial sour that I think sometimes you can get with like kettle sours or something. Like, it's just like amazing lactobacillus, sort of lactic acid sourness. And then the like depth of the cherry flavor. You almost get this like cherry raspberry jam depth that like fills your whole mouth. Like the whole back of your palate is just like filled with this deep cherry flavor. But then there's like this like touch of like lime, maybe like green apple sourness and flavor. Like a little bit of oak wood comes in the back. Definitely get a little bit of balsamic vinegar flavor in there, especially too in the nose. Now I'm smelling that as I drink it. And then there's this like nice like sort of cherry pie crust, kind of, the malts are bringing in this like cherry pie flavor. Oh, my goodness, it's so good. I don't know why I haven't had this before.
It's expensive.
Dude, I'll pay whatever for this.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things like where price is justified. There's a lot of work that went into that beer.
Work, time.
Yeah.
Really quality fruit, quality ingredients.
And
honestly, the fact that it's expensive for beer, but the fact that it costs what it costs is not one of the most expensive wines. It's still reasonable.
That's why craft beer is one of the best hobbies.
Yeah.
Because you can get some of the best beers in the world for like $20 or $30, which is like, I know almost nothing about wine, but I even for like a decent bottle of wine, I feel like you got to spend at least $20 or $30. And then if you want like world-class wine, you're going to be in the hundreds. So
yeah, so attainable.
Yeah, it's much more attainable.
I mean, what you I think you looked it up. The Beer Advocate is 99.
Yeah, I think it's like 99 on Beer Advocate. So you're drinking world-class beer.
Yeah, for Oh, I think it was like $15 for this
Yeah.
bottle.
Which, beer in the world of beer, that's expensive. But
Yeah.
in the world of wine, I don't think that's very expensive at all.
Mm-mm.
And I always cite like Pliny, if you're lucky enough to live on the West Coast, or I don't know where they're distributing now, but Pliny the Elder is like pretty much agreed to be like one of the best beers. And it's like, it's expensive in the beer world, but it's $8. So you can drink the best beer in the world for $8. It's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah. But that's cool that you found that smaller bottle, because I have the same
great,
problem.
yeah.
Because it usually comes in that big one, which is like 30 something bucks, and then you're like, well, I'm not really gonna drink this by myself.
Yeah, and that's like opening up a whole bottle of wine.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. You're committing if you're gonna drink that whole bottle by yourself.
Yeah. So this is like essentially like a big pour of wine for $15.
Yeah.
It's getting up there, but it's worth it.
I can see
to
the
do
smile
it
on
a couple.
your face. Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth it to do it a couple times a year for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a perfect like special occasion beer.
Now I'm like gonna try, because they have tons of different lambics, so I have to start trying more from them.
Yeah, they make a ton of stuff. I've only actually had the one you've had, just because cherry is my favorite. So
yeah, so you know what I'm experiencing over here.
Yes, I had one of those like 5 months ago, and I was experiencing what you were experiencing.
I wonder what it would taste like in 20 years.
You know what you got to do? You got to put one in the fridge or whatever temperature you're supposed to store it at.
Yeah.
The problem is you got to.
It's a long time.
One, that's a really long time.
I might not even live that long.
Yes, you will. And two, what you really got to do, ideally, is if you're really going to do that and age one 20 years, you got to have a new one to taste it side by side, I think.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you don't really, unless you intimately know what it tastes like, you're not going to know what the difference is. But you should put one away.
That would be cool.
Make it at least.
Yeah, in 20 years I can listen to this podcast episode and then drink the new one and then compare.
There you go. You can compare your notes. All right, that's the plan. What episode will we be on by then?
I don't know. Like 3,000?
Yeah, 20 times.
I don't know. Are you asking me to do math, right?
52. We'll be on 1,000 something, I guess.
Okay.
All right. Well, we've had enough fun drinking beer.
That was good. So thumbs up for you?
Yeah, I would drink this again. I like this.
I'm like a thumbs.
No, you're not.
I'm just kidding.
You're a thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
Oh, podcast exclusive. No one's ever given it 2 thumbs up.
No, we've never done that. What is that? The Roger Ebert treatment?
Thumbs up. All right. Well, you said you had a postscript, so you missed something in the last episode?
I have so many postscript notes this week.
What happened?
We completely failed last episode.
What did we fail on?
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, no. So I got some backstory on my beer that I drank last week. Okay? So I drank the What We Brew in the Shadows from Stormbreaker Brewing. And we made the comment that like, oh, it's kind of funny, like it didn't really match the style, right? Because it was a lager, it was a New Zealand style Pilsner. But what I found out is there is a movie.
Okay.
It was directed by New Zealand director Taika Waititi, who is, I think he's famous. I think he did some of the Marvel movies or something. Anyway, famous director from New Zealand, and he made a movie called What We Do in the Shadows. And it's about 4 vampires that live together in New York City, and it's like a comedy about how they live their life, like they only come out at night, like so it's like them living their life in New York City like at nighttime. And then so it was a movie originally, and then FX made a comedy series called What We Do in the Shadows. It was a series based on that, these vampires living in New York City. So,
are you telling me it's a pun?
I'm telling you when it's a pun. What we brew in the shadows, and it does kind of fit the style now because one, it's from New Zealand, like a New Zealand Pilsner, and it's like it's a comedy, so it's kind of a light, it's for a light beer.
Okay.
So we thought it didn't match the style, but once I got the backstory, matched the style much better.
All right, respect.
Okay. So
I respect. And also he's an excellent director. I had to Google him.
right? Like, what did he direct?
He did What We Do in the Shadows, and he did Thor Ragnarok.
Okay.
Which I like that one. He also did Jojo Rabbit, which is a really good movie if you haven't seen it.
I haven't, but yeah.
All right, check that one out.
On my list, yeah. So it's a little nod to the New Zealand director Taika Waititi.
All right.
And it uses Waititi hops, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's almost his name. So
another tie-in.
Okay, that's one of the things.
You made more mistakes?
No, so the other thing is I wanted to add another like category of beer names. Kind of like goes off the we had the like political theme, but I also kind of thought like sort of like a pop culture theme or like current event kind of theme.
True.
So one of the things I forgot was that there's a lot of beers now that played off the whole like pandemic, quarantine kind of thing. So there were some good ones like Smog City Brewing had Quarantine Machine. Monkish Brewing has it's called Fog Year Lockdown. They have a series like it's called their Foggy series.
Mm-hmm.
They have this one called Fog Year Lockdown, and the can art was these two eyes peering out of this like fort made out of toilet paper. That was pretty funny.
That's pretty
Lincoln Beer Company in Los Angeles, they made a beer called Empty Bleachers IPA. It has like a little onto all the sports stadiums that were empty. And then my favorite was one called, it's from Four Noses Brewing, and it's called Casey, You're on Mute.
That's a good one.
Because we were on a lot of Zoom calls.
That was uttered every single day in every single meeting.
Dude, can't hear you.
They're like 30 seconds in and it's just nothing.
So anyway, I just thought that was a cool different category that like was playing on the current events and pop culture references and stuff like that. Shared experiences that we were all going through. So.
Yeah, no, that's a good category. We overlooked that one.
Okay, that's my postscript notes.
Good job. I made no mistakes in the last episode.
Yeah.
I don't make any mistakes.
I know.
I'm just kidding. I'm sure I made like 20. But I don't have anything to correct. Nothing to correct in the record.
Yeah.
Except I still hate puns. Nothing's changed there.
Nothing's changed.
All right, do you want to talk about beer pairings?
Yeah.
Up our nerd level to the next level?
Yeah, it is a different level. I mean, it makes sense. You know, there's wine and food pairings.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows that. And I think sometimes it gets overlooked that, like, beer is also another great beverage to pair with foods to not only enhance the drinking experience, but also enhance the eating experience. So, and I think, like, there have been times where, like, I just, like, opened what I wanted to drink for dinner, and then I was, like, drinking it together, and I was like, this is not right.
Yes, there's definitely some rules for this, right?
Definitely. Yeah, some things that tend to go together better than others. So.
Well, I saw there's some guidelines for food and beer pairings on websterrontstore.com, had an article. And they made two good points. I never really thought of it this way, but they said you should look for things that contrast or complement. So contrasting, you're looking for if you are eating something that has a dominant flavor, you want your beer to be a contrast to that flavor. So they don't clash. If that makes sense. So they said a good example is oyster and stouts, because oysters have a strong briny flavor that can stand up to the rich texture and chocolatey notes of the stout. So that would be a contrast, but you can also complement. So you match rich foods with beers that have a heavy and rich flavor. And their example, they also said, and then you pair light tasting salads and fish with light beers or wheat beers with desserts like fruit tarts. So they're complementing each other instead of contrasting. Okay,
so in one instance you have like a lighter thing or two flavors that contrast.
Mm-hmm.
And then the complement is doing two like things.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, you have like a wheat beer and then like a fruit tart. So they complement each other rather than contrast. But I think it sounds like what you did is maybe something in between.
Yeah. was gonna say, I'm sure there's like, things that fall into both those that don't work. But I will say, so like you said, with the contrast, one of my all-time favorite food and beer pairings was when we went to the Great American Beer Festival last time in 2019. We went to they have sort of a side event that's a food pairing event, and we went to that. And definitely my favorite from that was the oysters on the half shell with the brown ale. And that's exactly, it's had like chocolatey notes with that briny oyster is, I don't know, there's something about that. It was really cool.
Think about like salted chocolate or salted caramel.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like, it's that same, they just go together so well. Yeah, and this article, that's funny that you mentioned that, because this article has like things that they recommend you pair things with. And one of the other things they said to pair with the brown ale is sushi or fish.
Okay.
Because they say they'll complement the rich chocolate and nutty flavors in brown ales.
I wonder, I'm going to have to look next time I'm at a sushi restaurant, see if they even have like a brown ale available. Because a lot of sushi restaurants don't have, like, they have some Japanese beers.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is, like, I usually like to get like a lager when I eat Indian food or sushi, but usually it's just like Kirin or whatever their like house lager is. Yeah. I've never seen like a brown beer before, but maybe I haven't looked hard enough, because I actually don't find that I like the pairing of a lager with like sushi.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
But that's like a lot of people get. I guess it's maybe if it follows this rule, it's like supposed to complement because it's like light and the sushi is light, but. Maybe I think a brown ale would go way better. I think now, with Indian food, lager is amazing. Especially if you're getting something like rich, creamy, and spicy, and then you drink that nice, refreshing lager. That's a contrast.
Yeah, I think with the spicy food for sure, because the lager, is a nice contrast and a nice, like, soothing.
Yes. It's like refreshing. You're like, oh.
Yeah, kind of cool it down.
The edge off. Yeah. So that actually, I think, that's like a no-brainer if they have like whatever their lager is, and they usually have a lager everywhere. So
do you have a beer that you like to pair with a burger?
Okay, I thought about this. Well, some of these I kind of like accidentally have figured out. Some I think I'm doing some of them wrong, but like for whatever reason I always used to get amber ale with pizza, because we have a pizza place that has a ton of beer on tap, and I'd always gravitate towards getting like Boot Amber Ale. I thought went super good with pizza, and it actually on this website it says that you should pair amber ales with pizza.
Yeah, I like that because
stumbled onto that one.
Yeah, I feel like what's kind of funny because my favorite local pizza place is Pint House Pizza, which is also like a really great brewery, and they make some great IPAs. And so I tend to kind of go with the IPAs with the pizza, but I don't think it's the best combination. I think they have a good porter and they have a really good amber. I think I'm gonna have to do one of those next time. I think that'd be a better mix with the pizza.
I would try the amber. I think you would not go wrong with the amber.
Because I think IPAs, at least like according to this, is better with like a heavier meat, like a steak or barbecue or Mexican food.
So that's the other one I've accidentally done. If you eat steak and drink a really good IPA, holy smokes, that is a good combination. There's something about like, again, I think it's a contrast thing. Like the IPA has like those bitter citrus piney notes, which is like almost completely opposite of like, the rich flavor of steak. So I don't know, this is so pretentious, but when you eat like the steak, you're getting all these like rich meat, fat flavors. And then like when you drink the IPA, it's like so bright, and all those like tropical flavors just pop against that steak, and they just kind of like sing over the top of it. That's the only way I can describe it. So that I recommend. You should try that too. Make a really good steak and then eat it and drink a really good cold IPA with it.
Like a King Sue or something.
Yes, I think that would go perfect. This episode is going to make us hungry.
I know, what the heck.
And I think that is the main thing of like, it does sound so pretentious. So you're like, oh, I have to drink an IPA with my steak. But I think what you find is when you do actually find a good pairing, it makes the beer taste better and it makes the food taste better.
Yeah.
And you're enjoying both more.
Yeah, I went to a cool wine tasting and food event, and I just remember, and this is a time where like I was probably a little bit more into drinking wine at that point, not as much into beer. And I just remember, I think it's some of it is like the fact that you're paying attention, because like you're specifically doing food and wine, like, but each course that came out also came out with this glass of wine, and you put those two together and you start kind of like take a bite and then you sip the wine. And it's just it's sort of an experiential kind of thing that like, it's kind of like what we do at the beginning of every episode where we like take the beer and we're smelling it and we're looking at it and tasting it. Like it becomes an experience. And so I think when you do that together, the food and the beverage, like it just makes you think about the flavors. And so I don't know. I know this is really getting into snobby level here. But like just appreciating and paying attention to the flavors, and then as you like put the two together and see what like starts to come out as you drink the beer, what you're tasting in the beer because of the lingering flavors that are in your mouth from the food, it just can be fun. I think you try it with anything, even if you think like, oh, this thing doesn't say that a light lager should go with a sausage or something, but like try it and see maybe why. Maybe start to understand maybe why, oh, this beer doesn't really pair with this because such and such and such, so.
Yeah, I think you're really like getting to the heart of it. I feel like part of what you're doing too is when you do a pairing, you're bringing like a ton of intentionality. Like you're doing a thing now.
Yeah,
like exactly. I'm doing a food pairing, which is like, it's gonna make you slow down and pay attention. And that's when you start to like notice all the cool subtle details of what's happening. Because that's half the fun of like the craft beer hobby. I think in of itself is like it's making it, you're kind of like setting it aside and making it an experience. You can just kind of relax. Like you're just right now. I'm just tasting this beer. That's all I'm doing. Yeah, answering to you, but and recording a podcast. But theoretically, if none of this is happening, we're just like drinking the beer. So you're paying more attention to it. So yeah. So then like doing the food pairing is like bringing that to like a whole nother level. Yeah, and then food is like a very it's a shared experience and it's something you can do together. So I think it's fun. I think this episode's starting to make me think like, oh, I want to try this more. Yeah, so I haven't really explored it at all. Now I want to really test my steak and IPA theory and like maybe have my friends over and see if they agree.
I want to test my steak and IPA theory like every day.
That's a good way to live, right?
It's kind of funny, like they don't mention on this list sours, and I will say I think it may be one of the hardest styles to pair with food. And I think maybe that's what happens a lot is sit down at dinner and then I go out to the beer fridge and I like just grab whatever beer I want to drink and I don't really think about what I'm eating and how it would pair. And a lot of time, like I just drink a lot of sours. So I'll just grab a sour beer and it does not always work very well. I think if I had to say like, well, right now drinking this beer, I want like a cheese or something. I want like a fancy cheese. I think like a charcuterie board.
I feel like you need something with a super strong flavor to pair with the sour. Because the problem is the sour kind of blows your taste buds out a little bit. But I almost think like a cheese, like a really pungent, powerful, rich cheese could hold its own against a sour. But a lot of things, I think you just blow your taste buds out on the sour and it would diminish what else if you were eating something that couldn't hold its own.
I think it's probably similar to wine. If I had to like think about what I would want right now, I think some like nuts and cheese and even maybe like a prosciutto or salami or something, I think would be a really nice pairing right now.
That sounds good. Well, you know what you got to do? You got to get another bottle of 3 Fonteinen and you got to get a charcuterie board.
Got to bring it all together.
With some nice cheeses and nuts, little salami and prosciutto. There you go.
So going back to that paired event at the beer festival, one of my other favorite pairings from that event was an apple pie Berliner Weiss, which first of all, mind blowing. If you can pull that off, there's like the fact that you have this sort of like pie crust lemon flavors from Berliner Weiss anyway, and then add apples to that. I like that. Maybe a little bit of cinnamon. Anyway, that was paired with a melon prosciutto mozzarella little appetizer thing. So I can see how those flavors would meld very well with a sour.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of fruitiness, a little bit of like strong cheese flavors, and some of those strong like processed meat flavors.
Yeah, especially like prosciutto has a strong flavor, very strong. So yeah, that makes sense. That sounds good. Just thinking about that.
I want to eat so much food right now. It's kind of funny. Pre-episode, we were talking a little bit about how we got old and nothing excites us anymore.
Yep.
Like no food is that exciting. But maybe this will make food exciting again.
This episode is what we needed, Stephen.
Yeah, we need it. It was perfect.
Perfect timing.
I must have been thinking about food all day today.
Yes. And now it's all coming forth.
Do you have any like food pairings that you like, specific ones that you remember?
Oh, from the ones we tried?
Well, like, yeah, from that paired event.
Yes. You didn't mention the mac and cheese yet, did you?
No.
Do you remember that one?
Oh, do I remember that one?
What was the beer? It was Stone 23rd Uncanny Annie Double IPA. And it was a mac and cheese it was bacon crumble mac and cheese. That was divine.
Yeah, I do remember that being really good. Maybe it was just the fact that the bacon mac and cheese was so good.
It might have been part of it. But yeah, it was like that, I don't know, that rich cheese and meat.
Yeah, I think that all those savory flavors,
with
especially with a double IPA, you're going to get like some good malts, but good like hop bitterness that's going to balance the bacon and just like sort of the sweeter pasta flavors. Yeah, that was a good one.
And do you remember, did you mention, we didn't talk about I feel like did we talk about the oysters?
Yeah, I mentioned the oysters with the brown ale.
Yes, okay. Because I remember you were in love with that.
Well, once I realized, so you're not an oyster on the half shell kind of guy?
I'm not quite there yet.
I love it. I like tasting the ocean.
That's what you're doing.
That's what oysters are. And I don't know what it is about that I like.
A lot of people like it.
Yeah, it's sort of the brininess. They had these were interesting. So they were oysters on the half shell. They had a little bit of like hot sauce and some sort of like a pork rind, almost like a little like crunchy thing in the middle too.
Okay.
But yeah, once I realized that like it was unlimited.
Oh yeah.
I could stand there all night and just eat that. I was like, oh, I'm not going anywhere.
And that line wasn't that long.
No, I was just like, keep them coming.
Some of the lines were really long. The mac and cheese line was long, but yeah, the oyster.
I felt like I was cheating. Like I felt like I was at the the Costco sample table, but like you're just standing there taking
it. It's like mowing.
Yeah, finally somebody's gonna be like, okay, you need to move on, but nobody's gonna tell me to move on here. It was awesome.
I understand the flavor. It's the texture.
Well, I think at the time too, like I don't even know how many brown ales I had drank up until that point, very few. And so just the like almost introduction to brown ales, like, okay, this is kind of good. A little like a step up from an amber, a little bit more chocolatey. I certainly wasn't a stout person then, so to kind of start to get those like chocolate malt flavors, and then of course eating oysters at the same time and having that complement so well, it was pretty cool. Like, oh, okay, I like brown ales.
Yeah, and
I'm eating oysters.
brown and amber ales are criminally underrepresented in the craft beer universe.
Yeah, I agree. Brown's probably even more. But.
Yeah, and they're so good. I want to see, like, I don't know, I guess maybe they're just not popular, but I'd love to see. I have a Newcastle
in my fridge right now.
There you go. But I'd love to see what like a real world-class brewery could do with, and I'm sure they do them, but they're not like widely available. But could do like a brown or a amber ale.
There are definitely some solid ambers. We have Thirsty Goat here in Texas. That's really good. Like it is a solid beer.
I like the name.
Thirsty Goat.
Yeah.
Trying to think. The other one that was kind of like a little step up from the brown ale was the stout pairing. It was the Stone Stout, the Woot Stout. That's the one you were thinking of.
Oh, yes.
That they paired with the mole chili. So that was interesting because we are like, even at that beer festival, we were seeing the trend of mole stouts.
I remember.
Which is essentially what this was like a stout, but actually just mixed with mole. Drinking it while eating mole chili gave you that like ancho chili spice.
It was like broken into its constituent parts.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really funny. Yeah, and then they started putting them together into the stout.
I mean, don't they make oyster stouts too?
They did. I think they still do. They used to be really popular. I want to say Oscar Blue had a really good oyster stout. I could be imagining that, but I've definitely seen oyster stouts. I feel like they kind of fell out of popularity, but
like the Brute IPA.
like the Brute IPA. But yeah, there's definitely oyster stouts out there. We got to find you a really good oyster stout because you would be in heaven.
I would like that briny flavors with the chocolate flavors.
The ocean. Taste the ocean.
The ocean. I don't know what it is about that, but I love it.
No, I mean, it's very popular.
I always like things that feel like kind of primal.
Okay.
Like you're eating something, like if you were stranded on an island or on the beach and you were just like trying to find something to eat and you just like were able to break open this little thing and just slurp it up. Like, I don't know, it just seems like very natural. That's how food is supposed to be eaten.
Hunter-gatherer style. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
There's not a lot that I eat on a daily basis that makes me feel like a hunter-gatherer.
Yeah.
As I like microwave my lunch.
I know, I was gonna say, I'm like the farthest possible removed from the hunter-gatherer. You don't even want to know what I eat for lunch.
It's not that Uncrustable, is it?
It's not that bad, but it's pretty bad. It's not something I want to put onto the podcast. It's highly processed, I'll tell you that much.
Well, unfortunately, that's how it is these days. So, yeah, I think that's a little bit why I like oysters, because it feels like this is how it's meant to be eaten. It's meant to just be slurped out of its shell.
Well, it's definitely like, what do they call that? Like a raw food or something? Like, yeah, it's in its natural state.
Yeah.
Zero processing. And do you like them plain like that?
Yeah, I like them plain.
See, that I give you cred then, because I make fun of a lot of people that like oysters, but then they pour like a mountain of garlic butter and hot sauce on top. Yeah. And then I'm like, are you really eating an oyster, or are you just finding an excuse to put garlic butter in your mouth?
Right. No, I mean, I like to, I'll just, especially because the last time I did it, I had this spread of like 3 different oysters. Mm-hmm. So there were some oysters from the Gulf of Mexico, and then I had some oysters from both the East and West coasts. And it's really interesting how different they are. And so the best way to like really taste the difference is just eat it without putting anything on it. And then like some others, I would like put a couple like different garnishes on it to try it like that. But I like to just try it.
Are you saying that eating an oyster unadulterated is the cheese pizza test of the oyster?
Yeah.
You have to taste it in its pure form. By the way,
Gulf oysters are trash.
Wait, really?
I don't know. Some people like them. I didn't like them.
What was your favorite?
The ones from Maine.
Add that to the bucket list.
What, going to Maine and eating oysters?
Going to Maine. And I want to eat clam chowder, too, I think.
Drink a brown ale with it.
Yeah, that seems like a cool place to go. But you got to be careful what season.
Right.
I think it gets very cold in Maine.
Is it always cold in Maine? Or?
I don't. It's pretty far north, right? We're going to embarrass ourselves on our geography, but
yeah.
No, it's up there.
Yeah.
It's basically like...
It's Canada.
Penetrating Canada.
yeah. It's like sticking its nose up into Canada.
But technically...
trying to be Canada.
Yeah, it is trying to be Canada. But I will say, and I'm glad I pulled up this map, North Dakota, Montana, and Washington are all further north than Maine.
Okay.
Unless this, I'm not 100% sure. This map.
You have to look at like a longitudinal. Yeah.
Yes, I need to look at a globe to really know for sure. But yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, because the world is round. You heard it here on the podcast.
Allegedly. No, it's round. We're off track.
We are away. Like, where did we go? We went to oysters and to Maine.
Talking about hunter-gatherers.
Is this a food podcast or a beer podcast? We should have done a crossover episode with like a local food podcast.
We got to find one.
Yeah.
Next year.
Like a meeting of the minds.
That'd be kind of fun, actually.
We'll bring the beer, you bring the food.
That'd be really cool. All right, get our people
Okay,
on.
I'll set it up.
Have our people call their people.
Who's our people? Me?
Yeah, you. Well, do we want to mention anything else about pairings?
So one of the things I noticed, pork. I don't think about pork that often. A good pork pairing. That might be actually a decent one to do with a sour, like a pork chop. Because like pork chop and applesauce, I really like. Do you ever do pork chops and applesauce?
I have not, but now that you mention it, it sounds good.
Dude, so good.
You just put the applesauce right on it?
Yeah, just like grill a pork chop.
Okay.
And just eat it with applesauce.
Hmm.
That's like one of my favorite foods. Like, I don't know, I grew up eating that a lot.
That does sound good.
Cheap.
Yeah.
Super cheap.
Is pork the other white meat?
The other white meat, yeah.
What an effective ad campaign.
What? What pairs with chicken? Did anything say chicken?
Oh, let me check.
Wings, I guess. Light lager with buffalo wings. But that's just like a spicy food.
Amber ale pairs with jerk chicken.
Like a spicy chicken?
Yeah, like spicy chicken. I feel like with chicken wings, if they're spicy, you want like a lager. You want that nice cooling effect.
Yeah, I would think so.
And if you're going to eat wings, they have to be spicy. Come on now.
The other one I think is interesting is because I drink a lot of wheat sours, but I don't drink a lot of just wheat beers. That one is kind of funky to pair with food sometimes. But now when I'm reading like salads and fruit tarts, that one kind of makes more sense to me. I should try that more.
Oh, it says buffalo wings on this list too.
With what?
With the wheat beer.
Oh, with the wheat beer. Okay,
yeah.
That might be interesting too.
But yeah, I think salads, that does actually sound pretty good.
Yeah, because you get that kind of like citrus and fruity notes to a beer. So if you paired it with especially like a salad with like maybe some like a light vinaigrette, strawberries in it or something like that, that would be good.
And pastries make sense too, because if it's just a straight wheat beer, like a lot of times they use that to make fruit beers.
Yeah.
You're like breaking it out. You're like drinking the wheat beer and then eating the pastry. So
yeah, it's the mole with the stout, making a mole stout in your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
like drinking the milk and then pouring the chocolate syrup into your mouth to make chocolate milk in your mouth.
And then you shake your head.
Yeah, then you shake your head.
Have you seen that there's like this invention? My wife said she almost bought it for me.
Okay.
It's because I love cereal.
Okay.
This is like peak. I don't even know how to classify these things.
Living?
It's like no, it's like it's
peak
things
laziness?
that should never. Yes, it's things that should never have been invented.
Okay, what is this?
It's this like container. You pour milk into one section and cereal into the other, and then you take it with you. And then when you're ready to have your cereal, you just like drink out of it, and then the cereal in the middle of the milk goes into your mouth.
Genius.
No, it's so stupid.
Like on the go cereal?
It's on the go cereal.
Oh,
but it's keeping them separate so they don't, because obviously
yeah, because
the milk ruins the cereal in minutes. You got to eat it.
Yeah.
So you know what you got to do. You can buy that device, but then pour wheat beer into one part and just put like fruit in the other. You can just deploy wheat beer and fruits into your mouth.
Yeah, I like it. You know, as I was thinking, another place I was thinking about is there is this donut shop in San Diego. It's called the Donut Bar, and they're open like I think like later at night they open up, and it's like truly a bar. But they have tons of beers on tap, and they have some like that you can do like you would do in the morning. So like you would get like it's like a dessert sort of like sweet stout that you would drink with your donut.
These people know how to start the day.
Yeah. It's a really cool place.
That's a Sunday morning activity.
Yeah, and their donuts are amazing. They had this like French toast donut. They took the donut and then put it in an egg batter and like grill it. And then they had this like Pop-Tart donut where they literally like cook a Pop-Tart into the middle of the donut. And they had this blueberry lemon donut that blew my mind.
We have a shared love of donuts.
Yes. Yeah, we always try to find donut shops.
Mm-hmm. Every time we go somewhere, we try to find the best donut place.
Voodoo Donuts in Denver.
Oh, so good.
We have a Voodoo Donuts in Austin too.
Have you been there?
Yeah.
Is it the same? Like they have the crazy.
Yeah, they have. My favorite is the one that has the Fruit Loops on top with like a cereal milk kind of icing. Oh,
yeah. So good. Cereal and a donut combined
on top.
Yeah.
It's really good for you.
Oh, I'm sure. So what do you pair with that donut? Stout. Milk stout.
Yeah, milk stout. Put a little chocolate. I just want to eat food and drink beer now.
I know. Why did we? We should have done this like on a Saturday morning. Recorded this episode because now I'm just going to bed.
I know, right?
Just dream about this stuff.
Yeah, I'll dream about food.
All right, sir. Well, we have
lower calorie to just dream about food.
Yeah, than drinking a stout and eating a cereal donut.
That's the other good for the 6-pack.
Yeah. Another danger of getting old.
But enjoying life, that's what food and beer pairings are all about.
That is true.
Taking the time to think about what you're putting in your mouth and enjoying the flavors, enjoying the small joys in life. Because sometimes you get old and sometimes things don't bring you as much joy as they used to bring you.
Yeah,
so
enjoy it.
Take the time to appreciate the food and beer you're drinking, or food and wine, whatever you're pairing together.
Milk and cereal.
Yep.
There, see, we're dispensing wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we know it's time to wrap it.
Wrap it up, yeah. Uh-oh.
We're waxing philosophical. All right, well, if you have any good suggestions for beer and food pairings, you could let us know at contact.attenuation@gmail.com. Or you can follow us on Instagram and hit us up with a DM. Our Instagram is attenuation.podcast, where we have over 40 followers. So this has been episode 33 of Attenuation, a beer podcast. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by my best friend since 8th grade, Steven.
That's me.
And we are saying good night, cheers, find a good beer and food pairing, and enjoy it.
Yeah, bon appetit.
And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Attenuation, a beer podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Instagram or Facebook for more fun content. Catch you next week. Cheers!